Welcome to the Philantrepreneur Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd, designed to offer tips, strategies, and insights to empower nonprofits and entrepreneurs with sustainable win-win solutions. The Philantrepreneur Show is sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, building capacity through education and professional services.
Well, welcome. This is Dr. Victoria Boyd, president of and founder of the Philantrepreneur and its foundation, and editor of the Philantrepreneur Journal, and my great co-host, Heidi Anderson, founder of the Foundation to Foster Empowerment and Credit Cares, and president of Electronic Commerce International. And we are thrilled to bring tips, strategies, and insight for the business and nonprofit sectors. You know, this is the last show of 2014. This year has just flown by. Oh, my God. And it's been very eventful for both of us. Heidi and I have met some pretty amazing people in this journey, and we're proud to say that the show has welcomed a wide variety of guests, such as financial advisors, spiritualists, cultural developers, entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and educators hailing from coast to coast and everywhere in between, and also not to mention Victoria, British Columbia, and Toronto, Canada. So, I mean, we've had a great turnout, a lot of great guests, and I'm just so excited to bring you the Philantrepreneur Show. Add to that, our listeners tune in from around the globe. I know New Zealand tunes in and some people in Australia, and we share stories and insight on using strategies that demonstrate the power of merging purpose, passion, and profits in what we call the Philantrepreneur model. A little more current news. Just last week, both Heidi and I had major milestones with events and announcements. I did a ribbon cutting for the Philantrepreneur Foundation, and Heidi, congratulations. I heard the Foundation to Foster Empowerment Empower Party was a huge success. Give us a little recap of what went on.
Oh, thank you, Victoria, and good morning, everybody. It was a whirlwind. It was one of those things where I'm so happy the way it turned out at the very last minute. It was really a blessing. The people that stepped up to help make it happen, that are now on board with the process and really want to be more of the organization going forward. So the next event will be planned quite a bit more in advance, and it'll just be a little more organized. But it actually ended up being in a beautiful venue. We had a lot of silent auction items. We had a great wine tasting. We had a nice showing, and everybody had a great time, and people made some great connections there. There were people there that, it was interesting. I walked up to a friend of mine, and they were talking, and she's like, yeah, she goes, somebody just told me this morning I'm supposed to meet this person, and here she is at the same party. I'm like, there's no such thing as coincidence, right?
Absolutely. Synchronicity, as I call it. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. That's right.
Yeah.
Just let it happen.
So it was a neat event, and it was a good start to getting the word out. I'm looking forward to 2015. I think everybody has a really good feel about 2015. That there's a really strong energy going into it. Everybody has a very positive outlook, and that's so exciting.
It is. I can feel it. In just the last few weeks of this year, the things that have been evolving for both of us, just across the board, my friends and just the networks, things just seem to be happening. And so we head into the new year. As we see it, 2015 will be just as exciting as, I want to say, the last few months. For example, I'm so excited. I connected with Michael Drew, and he's the author of Pendulum. Now, it's a book which describes the marketing theory, and it talks about the shifts in cultural interaction, and he describes what is called a we and a me cycle. And it was really fascinating as I first heard him speak, and then I read the entire book. A lot of how I now work and what went into the whole Philantrepreneur model and how I help assist entrepreneurs do social enterprise and just vice versa with nonprofits, including entrepreneur ideas into their strategies, it made sense because we're right in the middle of a we cycle, which is about just having that community connection. So it was really informative and useful marketing insight. And it's something that the philantrepreneurs need to know, and he has agreed to be my feature in the spring edition of the journal. He will be on the cover, and I'm just so excited. And we're going to work together over the next few months to really bring forth some theories and how it aligns with what nonprofits and entrepreneurs are doing. And he's going to be on the show in the spring, right before the journal comes out. So I was just so excited. I had a long chat with him, and I think he's excited and I'm excited, so it's just something to look forward to. And then also, I don't know, things are just happening. We've been really blessed to get such quality guests, and many of them have been authors, as our guest today. And I want to thank Charity Channel Publishing for assisting and allow us to access to these thought leaders. They came on board as a supporter and sponsor of the Philantrepreneur Foundation, and any Charity Channel book that you purchase from our website, that's the Philantrepreneur website, a donation will be made to our foundation. So I'm extremely excited about that, not only about the donations, but the books and the topics and all of the authors that they have. They're excellent for building and learning about what nonprofits and management is, and our total focus at the foundation is education, and so I'm just so pleased that they came on that. So with that said, I want to introduce a soon-to-be Charity Channel author, Stephen Meyers, and that's Dr. Stephen Meyers. He's Vice President of the Center for Personalized Philanthropy at the American Committee for the Weizmann Institute of Science. Wow. That sounds really impressive. He is the primary developer, sounds good to me, of Personalized Philanthropy based on the mantra of the right gift for the right purpose for the right donor. And I love that saying. He is the author of the book Personalized Philanthropy, Crash the Fundraising Matrix, Make the Real Shift to Donor-Focused Giving. I love that you emphasize purpose in describing your concept. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Hey, thanks, Victoria, and thanks, Heidi. It's good to be here.
And you know, because I've been in the nonprofit sector for so long, and one of the things you've been with the Weizmann Institute of Science for more than 20 years. Technically, that's practically unheard of in the world of fundraising and development. And you seem to have quite a diverse background. Could you just sort of tell us more about yourself?
Well, first of all, I really like your idea of merging purpose, passion, and profits in the Philantrepreneur model. I think my focus is really merging purpose, passion, and profits towards philanthropy as well. So I think you're really on the right track. It is unusual. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just said thank you.
Oh, yeah, I think you're really on the right track. So last month I completed my 20th year with the American Committee for the Weizmann Institute. That's a science research institute that's located in Israel. But let me tell you, it's not in the resume. And before Weizmann, I had a really very unfocused and what you call a diverse resume. If you were an HR person, you would know what diverse means. But it was equally divided up between sort of a competing interest in art and science. And I think that's because when I was a kid, I went to one of those science and arts camps, and I never got over it. So I have this sort of disorderly mind that likes to wander around, and I land on certain kind of problems that need fixing, and if they don't need fixing, maybe they need breaking. So let me give you an example. I do have the Ph.D., but it's in both psychology, which is the science part, and literature, which is the art part. And I did my thesis on the creative process on the work of a poet, but the poet was also a doctor. And in college, I was in a band that was called The Loose Ends, which sort of has described my life journey in a lot of ways. I've been a teacher, a staff trainer, a handbag maker in my family's business. And at one point, I worked on the Willowbrook Task Force on behalf of young people with mental disabilities. And then I crossed over to the Jewish Home for the Elderly, where I volunteered working with older people. And then I worked on the annual campaign. And then I became the first director of the Planned Giving and Endowment campaign. So clearly lacking in direction until I came to the Weizmann Institute. which gave me a chance continuously over all these years to focus on the whole creativity in basic science, understanding how scientists get their discoveries and insights, and also kind of bringing that over into the world of philanthropy, where we want to be as innovative in philanthropy as our scientists are in doing their science. So that's been the focus of my work for the last 20 years, and it gets renewed all the time. You couldn't do the same thing for 20 years, at least I couldn't.
Well, it's so fun. I think that's how a lot of us. I mean, like Victoria, going from dance and teaching and in the nonprofit world, and myself more from a sports, and then credit card processing, financial, oil and gas accounting, to philanthropy.
I feel like I'm a kindred spirit.
Yeah, I think people like us would be bored otherwise. So,
yeah.
And I think also bringing that diversity to what you're doing, it just enhances it. I mean, obviously, having had all those different backgrounds, just makes what you're doing, or we're doing this with the Weizmann Institute of Science. You just bring that much more value to what you're doing and get that much more out of it.
Well,
and
thank you.
And the same with us. So it's kind of like, I celebrate diversity personally. So Personalized Philanthropy is your most recent work. So what inspired you to write that book?
Well, let me talk a little bit about just writing in general. First of all, you can write something if you have to start with something that you need to say that just is maybe going to be worth hearing to at least a few people. And maybe there's a few people out there who are really looking for exactly what you have to say. But you really have to be, passionate in your own right to say that. And what I found is that so much in fundraising, people talk about donor-centered this and donor-centered that, but there's very little about actually how to practice it. And the idea of writing, as somebody who's been in the trenches for such a long time, really appeals to me. Not to write an academic book that you could read in a library, but to read something maybe before you go and work with a donor, before you go to a board meeting, or when you're trying to think of a strategy for a difficult fundraising kind of a problem. So that's why I do this. And I guess not too long ago, I had a kind of a breakthrough and a discovery moment. The place that I work, that I've been working for 20 years, the Weizmann Institute, decided to establish what they were calling a Center for Personalized Medicine. And a lot of us have heard about this idea of personalized medicine, but it was new in my world. And so at that moment, I kind of realized that all the insights that I had been working on with donors over such a long time could be kind of brought together under this one banner of personalized philanthropy. And now that I had something to share that I thought was worth talking about, that's really what inspired me to write the book, plus the fact that Stephen Nill of Charity Channel actually asked me to write it. So how could I say no? So that's why I did it.
And just the term personalized philanthropy, being in the nonprofit sector for years and years, many of us think, isn't all philanthropy already personalized? So what about the title, personal philanthropy?
Well, now you're getting into it. This is really this is sort of the dirty little secret, I think, of charities and fundraising, that most of us think that our philanthropy is already personalized. And just going back to where it was before, I like to make the comparison between personalized philanthropy and personalized medicine. In medicine, there are new tools that are around that are changing the way that people think, that all the biological information now can be looked at as big data, and this technology lets them develop individual scientific plans for each individual patient. So you're not getting the same treatment as every other patient the way that it used to be before there was personalized medicine. They would give you a medicine and you get the same as everybody else, and it would either work or it wouldn't work. That's kind of the way that philanthropy and fundraising has been. Also, that each donor ought to be entitled to an understanding of their own interests, their own passions, but it doesn't really work that way. In most organizations, especially the large ones, but the small ones follow this along too, the fundraisers and the donors both are kind of funneled and siloed into separate channels. For instance, there's an annual campaign, a major gift campaign, and a planned giving campaign. And most donors don't realize that there's these separate campaigns, and they're even staffed by and organized by separate people. And what happens is that each of these campaigns takes on a life of its own, so that the staff begin to service the campaign rather than servicing or serving, focusing on the needs of the donor. And there's really this imbalance. I don't know if you've experienced this, but there's this imbalance between the focus on what the institution needs and what the donor cares about. So
absolutely.
An important part of what I'm doing is trying to make people aware of this. And I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Matrix. In the movie The Matrix, people are kind of used as sources of energy, and they're taken over by computerized machines, but they go about their lives thinking that everything is normal. But there's only a few people who have kind of woken up to this idea, and I say that they've crashed their matrix. And I'm looking for people to wake up to this idea that these basic ideas of how fundraising is done now. It's sort of like a fundraising matrix, and it doesn't really focus on the people as much as it focuses on the campaign. And once people wake up to that, things can change.
Oh, absolutely. I guess even in some of my classes, I talk about, the term, we use it because it's easy to understand, that donor-focused approach. But it's not about me, as I would tell them, or the organization. It's what do they need? How are you serving their needs? And they have to get out of that very egocentric, or it's all about me and our mission mindset. And switch it to what are you looking for in terms of opening the conversation with the donors? What are you looking for? What makes you happy, and how can we serve you, and how can we make sure that those needs are met? And I teach that all the time, because it has to become an external focus versus the internal focus.
I think you're right.
Love it.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in a place where you could crash your matrix, and that's one of my one of the quests
I'm usually
that I'm
crashing
on.
somebody's matrix or something.
Yep.
Well, it's because I'm new. I just created the Foundation of Foster Empowerment from a passion to help kids that are aging out of the foster care system, because they currently become homeless and imprisoned, and it's just really a horrible. They just end up they have no family, nobody loves them, and it's 30% of our homeless population come from this. And so I just felt a real need to do anything about it, but I had never worked in the nonprofit world at all before, except for, volunteering at different events and, supporting other nonprofits. And there is so much to learn, and having done this show for a year and a half, have learned quite a bit. But this topic that we're on right now is honestly something that's kind of new to me. So your book is geared for advisors and gift officers with nonprofit organization. So another piece I read of yours, PP and the Four Donors.
Personalized Philanthropy and the Four Donors.
Personal Philanthropy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is Victoria wrote this. I'm reading her thing. It's geared towards the donors, which especially because it would apply to entrepreneurs and corporations that want to create or enhance their community impact, which is the Philantrepreneur model. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, okay. Before I answer the question, if you have a new foundation and you were to have a conversation with a fundraiser who was observing all the so-called best practices and conventional practices of fundraising, they would tell you that, you should start with an annual campaign. And I guess my approach to personalizing it would be that you would try to understand the passion of the donors that brings them to you. So I have like a new definition of fundraising and philanthropy that I'm trying to introduce through this book, and that is instead of just trying to service the annual campaign, make a gift to our annual campaign, and that's the best way you can support our organization. My approach would be to try to understand what is the mesh between your donor, the person you're speaking to, the donor's most compelling interests, and the most compelling needs of the institution that you have. And Victoria and Heidi, if you're doing that, you'll be able to have a very strong basis for having a conversation about the best way to support your organization. I think that's really the important thing. And when I wrote the book essentially first for fundraisers and advisors, but then I realized I needed to have a small little slice of this that was going to be directly written to donors, because the donors are the ones who had inspired me to try this different approach, to go beyond the conventional approach to fundraising, which was just create these campaigns and meet the goals of the campaigns. I realized that there was a way to support the organization, that the best way would be to bring together the compelling passion of the donor that would bring them there in the first place, and the most compelling needs. And when you understand those together, I think that's really in line with the Philantrepreneur model that you have. So it's about change, about bringing together the donor with your organization in a special, highly personalized way.
And that's exactly right. I mean, even as a entrepreneur, small business, if you're not infusing some of your own personal purpose, and that you are getting personally something out of it, that you are being served, as I say, even in business, there's going to be a gap, and the percentage of really having longevity and success really goes down. I mean, we're having a very interesting conversation here.
It's very improvisational, isn't it?
Yes, it's time for a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back with more from Stephen after this quick break.
Okay.
Hey, are you a small business owner like me who wants to make a charitable contribution and needs easy access to charitable giving sources that you can automate for your business for free? Then I invite you to visit www.credit-cares.com. They have charitable giving options using their innovative merchant platform that helps nonprofits raise money and helps merchants make contributions at no additional cost to them using the products and services of Electronic Commerce International. Our giving options are easy to set up for small business. So if you have a business entity, we can donate in your business name. Go to www.credit-cares.com and see how you can make a difference every day by doing what you already do. Go to www.credit-cares.com and fill out the form or call 855-782-2737 for more information on how your business can be a difference maker in your community.
All right, we're back with the Philantrepreneur Show, and it's now time for the Philantrepreneur Show tip. Each show we try to give some type of strategy or tip to our listeners. And today I'm going to talk about congruence of interest, because that's really what we've been talking about with personalized philanthropy. It's a component of the Philantrepreneur model, and as we use it, it means to align the strategic goals of a corporation or business with philanthropic efforts to gain a unified message and purpose. However, congruence of interest also represents a statistical benchmark when measuring relevance to success and satisfaction, and should be considered as an entrepreneurial development strategy and goals for business and how you connect or immerse your purpose and passion with it. It is a roadmap for success. Take one quick
The Philantrepreneur is dedicated to your success. Visit thephilantrepreneur.com to find and explore a wide range of services and resources. Register and receive benefits such as training, early bird discounts, and the Philantrepreneur Journal, a nationally distributed bi-monthly digital publication serving everything Philantrepreneur, filled with tips, strategies, and resources to support your goals. Need more marketing exposure and have community impact? The Philantrepreneur is proud to offer Ads for a Cause, where 10% of your marketing purchase goes directly to charity. Contact us today to place your ad. Increase your reach in a professional digital publication or radio spot. It's a great marketing tool to send, post, or share in a variety of formats. Deadlines are on a rolling basis, so don't miss being included in the next publication. Visit thephilantrepreneur.com and click the Journal Marketing Ads tab today. Mention this show and get a 10% discount. www.thephilantrepreneur.com.
Okay, welcome back. We're going to continue our conversation with our guest today, Dr. Stephen Meyers, author and vice president at the Weizmann Institute of Science. Okay, I see you've written about charitable giving, gift planning, and designed something you call the killer apps of personalized philanthropy. Why do you call them killer apps, and what is that all about? Give us some more info on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, a killer app in technology terms is something that changes the way that you think, the way that you act, and everything that comes after is kind of different. And for me, like seeing through the matrix of the conventional fundraising practices changed the way that I look at fundraising. And it gave me that new definition of philanthropy and fundraising, where the goal is to create a mesh between the compelling interests of the donor and the compelling needs of the charity. So my quest with all this is to, the purpose of all this is so that donors can have an impact and recognition that starts right away. And so much of the fundraising, the big major gifts come when the donor has died through their bequest or through their trust. It comes too late for the donor to enjoy the benefits and the thrill as seeing the impact and recognition of their giving. So there are ways to get things done, and I call them killer apps because they're a different way of thinking. And there's three of them. I'll tell you quickly what they are. One is called a virtual endowment. And if you're working with a donor who gives every year, they make an annual gift to your organization, and that means they care about you. It's usually a modest gift because they give it all the time, maybe more than once a year. Could be in honor of people's birthdays or anniversaries or in memory gifts. But they care about your organization so much, and they've been with you for so many years, that they also have you in their estate plans. You're going to get a nice bequest through their will. And suppose that you're going to get maybe $100,000 through their will, and they're giving you a few $1,000s during the year. What happens is the biggest part of the impact of their gift will come after they pass away. And my idea, the idea of the virtual endowment, is that you would use that annual gift that they've given, say, for the last 5 or 10 years. All they have to do is agree to continue to do what they've done for the last 5 years for the next 5 years or 7 years or however many years they can. If they've done it every year, the chances are pretty good they're going to do the same thing in the future. But instead of just having it go for your general fund or your annual campaign, you could tie it to something that was really important to your organization. And then when they pass away and that estate gift comes in, that could be used to endow or create a legacy fund to permanently support that same thing that they cared about so much in their lifetime that they gave every year to you. What that means is that those annual gifts, instead of just being thought about as a one-off, one-time gift, and you have to start all over again next year, you see them as a series, and you'd be able to treat them virtually as if they were an endowment, a virtual endowment, until the true endowment was created later on after their passing. So this way you could support really important things. You could call them scholarships or research funds, certainly programs that you want to have every year that define your program. Those things that you care about most can be supported through these annual gifts and not just through the gifts that come after the donor passes away. And by connecting them all together, that donor can have the impact of their giving start right away and the recognition as well, which is a real blessing for those people. And I call this kind of gift a grail gift. It's like the holy grail of fundraising because it's the ideal thing for a charity or an organization to receive a gift that starts up right now and grows and scales up over time. So it's really the ideal gift, the virtual endowment. And there's two others. One is called the philanthropic mortgage, and the other one is called a step up. And the philanthropic mortgage is a simple idea. When you buy a house and you pay a mortgage, you don't have to wait until it's all paid for until you move into it. So you start to live. You get to enjoy the benefit of living in your house right away, even though you're still paying for it. So with this kind of a gift, you can build equity in your endowment instead of having to wait many years to complete a pledge, or it takes 5 or 10 years to grow a fund till it really can generate its own income. You can have it's just like when you start up a house, part of your gift goes to operate the program on a current basis, and the other part of it builds the principal for the endowment later on. So in that way, a person could make an annual gift, and it could be a little bit more than is needed for the to run the annual program, and a little extra part could go into building equity to create an endowment for the future. And finally, the idea of the step-up gift is a real killer app. A person might not be able to achieve the biggest goal that they have for your charity, but they might be able to do something smaller during their lifetime. And the step-up gifts allows it to go from one level to a higher level to even a higher level over time. So it could be, one small scholarship, and then it could be 2 scholarships, and pretty soon you could have a full scholarship program with many students or children getting the benefit of the gift. But it builds up over time. And these 3 ideas, as simple and intuitive as they might be to you, Heidi, as a person who likes to support charities, they would be unthinkable for most organizations because they're so cash-oriented and they have to fulfill their annual campaign and then their other campaigns for the future. By bringing these together, the passion and the purpose of the donor come together for one purpose, and it starts up right away. So once you start to think that way, it changes the way that you raise money and the way that you talk with donors. You give them the big picture instead of trying to sell them on your campaign.
Right. Well, it's interesting because a lot of what you're talking about is it sounds like it's kind of geared towards people who already have a donor base and have and just different ways of approaching that existing donor base and getting money coming in. What would your recommendations be for a brand new startup nonprofit to I guess define your donor base and create these same kind of things, but you've got to get your donor base first.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you have to really spend much more time than we're used to in doing what I call discovery. It's really trying to understand the passions of the donors, the people that you're working with, and telling them your story so they can understand what motivates you and what your passion is, so you can really understand what they care about. And there's probably, many different dimensions and many aspects, core ideas about what's important to the charity that you're creating or that you're starting. And once you understand what each person wants to connect with, you can have them support the thing that they care about the most. And that way they can see their impact starting to happen right away. So instead of just doing 1 year of support, you could ask them to consider a multi-year gift. 1, 2, or 3 years, or maybe even more, so that they can see over time they've made a gift and they can begin to understand how it has played out, how it's had an impact, and they can be recognized as a donor over a longer period of time than just in a single moment.
It makes absolutely great sense. Being in the nonprofit sector, I see. Yes, it will take some internal shifting and mindsets of the organization, but in terms of presenting it and telling the story and then showing the donor how they can have that impact and how the organization can actually take action steps immediately from that extended pledge or legacy type of donation. Is very important. It's a strong message. It's powerful. It really empowers both the donor and the organization.
I think that's the idea. Yeah, I think that's the idea, is that when a donor can see the impact of their being there, they have a reason to continue to stay. And the relationship then goes from 1 year to 3 years to 5 years to their whole lifetime, including their estate planning. And when you begin to harness the full capacity of the donor, instead of just trying to capture them in that one moment, their impact and the gift they're going to make is always going to be greater and much more satisfying for them.
And that's a lot of what I've been telling some of my corporate clients in terms of their philanthropy. And I'm just going to jump into this next question. So you've been immersed in this sector for some time and seen it evolve, the whole nonprofit evolution. Even though your work is with individual donors, have you seen a shift or change impacting corporate philanthropy, or had you heard of the term congruence of interest, which sort of really utilizes many of your concepts?
Yeah, I think the congruence of interest is an interesting concept. If I understand it, it's kind of a principle of marketing where you're bringing the alignment of the person and the product and the brand all together in one place. And so you have the brand, the message, and the values become important. And the tough challenge in philanthropy, as you say, is to put all this kind of, once you've established this trust, how do you put it into action? So the focus that I do is again, to bring this mesh of what are the corporate values, what are the individual values, what are the values of the organization and the institution. Once you can find a match for those things, you can bring them together, and you can use these killer apps as ways to start having an impact immediately, much greater than you would by just making a single gift, by establishing a longer-term commitment. And I think that there's this concept of that when people are able to rise above their own self-interest, that makes a tremendous difference in the community and the corporate world, and how people see and trust both donors and corporate donors in particular. So there's this concept of joy, which someone introduced me to not long ago, joy in the sense of a journey outside of yourself. And this is the thing that philanthropy can do uniquely for both individuals and for corporations that reside in their as a part of their community. You remember the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you start at the kind of the basic physical needs, and then you work your way up the scale. And in this pyramid, the highest level is called self-actualization. Well, if it's all just about self-actualization for a corporation or for a person, then life is pretty shallow. You really need philanthropy. It's the only thing that can take you above and beyond yourself. So this idea of community, coordination, collaboration, working in the community, that's the journey outside yourself. I think that's the next level. I think that kind of relates to your mission as Philantrepreneur, and the idea of congruence takes you beyond yourself.
Yeah, that's right. I'm glad you defined it for me. Now I have it.
I love that acronym for joy. That's a great one.
I'm going to have to remember that one too.
Yeah, joy to the world.
That's right, and this is not a bad time to be talking about that. This is what philanthropy is really about. You can go beyond yourself. You can go beyond just self-actualization, and you can really begin to make a difference in your community, and that reflects back on you.
Absolutely. This has really been great, and thank you, Dr. Stephen Meyers, for being on the show today.
Thank you.
If anyone wants to learn more about your work or get any of your books, what's the best way to do that?
Well, the easiest thing to do is just go to the Charity Channel, and you could just type in Charity Channel in the trenches, and that will take you to the bookstore. And there's a lot of great authors and there's actually a community of authors at the Charity Channel. And my book will be available there soon too.
Absolutely. And once again, we want to thanks for all the information. And I will keep an eye out on for your book. I might even pull it onto our website and feature it, because like right now we have Linda Lizakowski, who is one of the journal writers, and her book is featured. And what I'm going to try and do is, as we bring guests on and switch out and feature different people on our website, The Philantrepreneur, and so proud that Charity Channel believes in us. And besides going through Charity Channel, I'm going to bring it back to us, that they can get the book through our website also, and then it will also impact us, because it will be a donation to the foundation. So excited.
That's a great idea.
Well, that's what I do. I come up with those ideas. That's that philantrepreneur coming out of my mind. It was so great talking to you today, Dr. Stephen Meyers. He has his book, The Personalized Philanthropy, coming out. But are you a philantrepreneur? Then we want you as a guest. Please visit thephilantrepreneur.com, radio-show, and submit the guest inquiry form. Also, enjoy the archives of past shows. We are booking now for the 2015 schedule, so let us hear from you today. Well, it's been, we've had such great shows. And on our first show of 2015, on January 7th, we will welcome Nikki McClouston to talk about social enterprise. And this is Victoria Boyd and Heidi Anderson saying thank you for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Philantrepreneur Radio Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd. Get involved. Follow us on Facebook and other social media outlets. If you wish to share comments or suggestions or appear as a guest on our show, visit www.thephilantrepreneur.com. Contact Victoria Boyd. Email her at theboyd@thephilantrepreneur.com. The Philantrepreneur Radio Show is a production of and sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.